Welcome back. You're now watching the lifestyle segment of the weekend show brought to you by Holocrunch.
Crunchy, yummy goodness.
Woohoo! All right, let's talk mental health in Nigeria. Once upon a time, it was said that Nigerians are the most happiest people on the planet and that we are very resilient people. Well, there have not only been a lot of changes to that, reports of high risks of suicide cases, but we also hear a lot of anxiety disorders, drug and substance abuse spring up now and again amongst Nigerians. This is a growing concern given the fact that we live in the midst of a pandemic as well as many harsh economic realities. Having this conversation is very essential to analyze if this is a problem of the poor, rich, old, or young. It is a challenge that concerns all. Ensuring stability is in the mental state of Nigerians is critical to the well-being of all Nigerians. Joining us in today's program to discuss this, we have
Vanessa Adebayo. She is the founder of Africa's Health Matters Foundation. Welcome to the weekend show.
Thank you, thank you.
Also, we have Chinyere Ugo-Denti. She's a clinical psychologist at NIM Foundation. Welcome back to the weekend show.
Thank you for having me.
I'll start with you, Vanessa. So at first, Nigerians were said to be the happiest people in the entire world. So that was very good statistics. We're like, despite our economic hardship, despite everything that we're going through, despite, the vast difference in the different social classes, Nigerians are still very excited and happy. But WHO released a report in 2019 that 1 out of 4 Nigerians suffer from mental health issues. I'm sure those statistics have even worsened amidst the pandemic. What do you attribute this to, and what do you think needs to be done immediately to mitigate this growing figures?
Okay, so I think that's number one, a great question. And I don't think there's just one factor that contributes to this. I think there are various things. So let's first off talk about infrastructure. The fact that there's lack, just even on a day-to-day, when the average person leaves their home to get from point A to B, there's traffic, right? If you're talking about people living maybe in Lagos, there's bad roads, lack of electricity, high unemployment, just lack of resources on a large scale, and then being able to feel like, okay, you actually have a voice or you even have a say in the way that life goes for you. So there's a lot of frustration just around the lifestyle and being able to maintain your day-to-day needs or being able to get from point A to point B or whatever the case may be. I think people are frustrated. People are tired. It's been said over and over again. And I think it doesn't even have to do with the demographic. I think whether you're rich, poor, or middle class, everyone has mental health, right? So it's not that, there's certain people that we all have mental health. So there are days that you may feel up and there's times where you may feel down. But I think living in this environment in itself makes it that much harder for you to be able to deal with life in general, because on top of your day-to-day issues you may be experiencing personally, you then have an environment that maybe be working against you. And I think in terms of mitigating this and being able to actually address this, I think the number one thing we can do immediately is policy. We see the awareness, we see nonprofits, we see therapists and advocates speaking up, and it's great, but until we get people from the government side to be able to integrate and be able to provide policy that directly addresses mental health, I don't see things progressing in any shape, way, or form.
So I remember about a month ago or a couple of weeks ago on Twitter, so there was this playful banter about millennials and Gen Zs. And someone, while making the joke, said this generation, we're so all about saying, oh, we have mental health issues, I have anxiety, I have depression, but we never want to address it. And so we've identified that, okay, I may have a problem, but nobody is addressing it, nobody is getting the right resources to deal with it, and there's possibly the lack of resources to get this help. What do you think is the problem with people from identifying their mental health issues to actually deal with it? Why aren't people finding ways to deal with it?
I think, firstly, we're in a generation where they're a bit more open about the issues like you have mentioned. People are feeling a lot more empowered to speak about their challenges. On the other hand, the resources to support these people aren't really there. You have mental health providers who are maybe 1 to like 1 million people. I can't remember the exact statistics, but you just don't have enough in Nigeria to cater for these people. So sometimes you have people who almost use social media or use those platforms as a way of venting or looking for help. What we can do, first of all, is to start identifying the places that the help actually are, because there is help. We may not have that enough to offer the support that people need, but there is help out there. And what people need to start doing is looking for places that they can get the help that they need, looking for advocates that can support them, looking for practitioners that are there that can support them. For a lot of people, it may not be affordable. So that's why also the government, like Vanessa mentioned, there needs to be the government's interaction with the private sector, with the individuals that are even offering the support to make it affordable for people. I am actually very proud of people who are able to stand up and speak, because a lot of people find it difficult. One, there's stigma. Everyone is going to label you. You don't want to be looked down upon. You don't want to be seen in a certain light, because, you know, Nigeria has not really gotten to a point where we fully embrace mental health challenges in people, and we fully embrace and support people with mental health challenges. So the person would not feel very comfortable speaking up about it. And even if they do speak up, the help may not be there for them to receive that help, or perhaps the appropriate help that they need may not be there for them. So it's, why am I going to even talk, first of all, when I will feel stigmatized and I won't get the help I need? So these things you can find would hinder people from speaking. But then again, I must applaud people who speak up and seek help. And, you know, it's for each and every one of us to come together to help that one person that speaks up, or point them in the direction of where they can receive the help that they need, because there is help out there. There really is help for you.
I love the fact that we're hampering on solutions, but one thing scares me, the fact that in Nigeria, we've not been able to provide solutions to our physical health issues. So our healthcare facilities are in such a bad state, you know, so when we're even talking about providing solutions to something we can't see physically, like mental health, it scares me, like, are we going to actually take proper steps to actually help solve this issue? So I wonder, are there unique ways that we can go about it? You know, I know most people have access to the internet now, although data still remains the most expensive on the African continent. But are there resources online that people can go and receive free mental health therapy for those people who are suffering?
Yeah. So you find that even with the pandemic, a couple of organizations were offering free mental health support. A couple of people out there were just saying, you know, reach out, we'll support you. So I'm going to start with the basics. For someone now who has like a medium to mild mental health challenge, you know, you can actually seek help. One of the first things you can do is, firstly, look for people within your circle that you trust, that you can reach out to, that can offer that support to you. It goes a long way. It goes a long way with helping you finding a safe space to open up and finding a safe space to talk about the things you're going through. Sometimes with mental health challenges, just having that comfortable place or a space where you can feel like you can open up and talk about your challenges and look at it can go a long way in helping you down the line solve the problem of something that could have escalated. Lifestyle changes go a long way to helping you too. A lot of the times we find that if we incorporate things like exercise, taking walks, meditation, deep breathing, it goes a long way in helping people that have challenges like that. 2, 3, I like to say, most times mental health, what it does to you is that it isolates you. It actually does isolate you. So I keep on encouraging people to reach out to those that you love, reach out to those that you trust. And for us as individuals, if we see loved ones who are different from what they used to be or how they used to behave, it's our mandate to actually reach out and offer that support and make them know that we are available to help them. We may not be able to provide that immediate need, but we're there to say, I'm here to listen. I'm here for you if you want to talk. I'm here for you if you need a space to cry. It goes a long way to helping people feel like they are safe. And then if you have a severe mental health challenge, sometimes the solution is that, well, most times, the solution is seeking professional mental health support. There really is no going back on that. If you have quite a severe mental health challenge, you have to go to receive appropriate medical support, because it's a health challenge. If you're looking at it, it is a health challenge that requires different approach to treatment, different approach to care. So you need to go in for an assessment so that you're given the right support for that particular challenge you're going through.
Vanessa, the numbers don't lie. So it's said that Nigeria has Africa's largest caseload of depression. And globally, according to an Al Jazeera report, we are the 15th most frequent when it comes to suicides in the world. I'm talking about causes and things you are scared of, in Africa and Nigeria, because of how big we are on traditions and customs, it's also a very disciplinarian society, especially in Nigeria. So as a child, you have to pass your exams, and if you're passing your exams, you have to come first. And so this is targeted at family, parents, and so there's this pressure to succeed. We've said this on this program, that we should allow people learn from failure, and there's a bright side of failure. And so there's a lot of pressure from parents: do well in school, you do well in school, you finish school, get a job. The same parents are now saying, get married, you get married, have a child, you have a child, have a son. And so a lot of young people right now are taking their lives. And it's because most of them can't go back to their parents to say, this is what I'm going through, this is what I have done. So I'm not blaming parents, but if you connect the dots, what's the role of parents, and how can parents actually do better?
So it's an amazing question once again, and you're not lying, right? Like, we see this happen all the time. Being able to actually meet the standards of what your parents would want you to meet, right? And the pressures of not only the world, but the people closest to you telling you that you must, at every stage of life, meet these certain expectations. I think the role of the parent is extremely important. And we see, especially in the African context, we care, right? Like, there's some people who say, hey, like, if I don't meet these expectations, I'm okay with it. I can sleep well at night. I don't mind if my parents aren't happy or don't approve. But as African children, we're brought up to care, right? And we have all of these aspirations and goals that we want to achieve, just to be able to say that we made them proud. I think the role of the parent, especially understanding mental health, is extremely important, because we're talking about, from a child, growing up, you want to be able to, number one, understand your child. Number two, be able to communicate and speak with your child to a point where they feel free to even share with you what it is they're going through. A lot of times we're so goal orientated that we forget to actually take out time to say, okay, who is my child? What are their likes? What is it that they love to do? What are their aspirations? Obviously, as the world is evolving, they're different. We no longer, traditionally we say you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, but we see people constantly changing the narrative and becoming chefs and becoming people who are in the creative space and becoming artists, and they're excelling and they're winning. Like, who's to say, like, even now, like, if Burna Boy's parents never, encouraged him to be the person that he is, he would have won a Grammy. So we see all these people changing the narrative of what success is. But it's very important that parents take out time to, number one, know their child, two, understand where their child is, and three, be able to provide the proper resources. So if you see that your child is down or not performing well in school or feeling some type of way, I think it's the job of the parent to be able to kind of come in and find out, okay, what can they do to help their child, right? And sometimes it's a lack of knowledge, and that's where we come in as advocates, as therapists, as people in the medical space, to be able to say, okay, this is what we can provide to your child. Even if you don't necessarily understand it, we can find you someone that can.
I completely agree. I think parenting plays a very critical role, and also the role of peer influence, especially with the digital age, social media. So how do people go about, sort of balancing their use of social media and also balancing the effects that peer influence have on them? Because I'm one advocate of log off when you need to. That 24/7 being on your phone, it affects you. It affects your productivity. It affects your mental health. So what are some tips that you could give Nigerians who are watching today in terms of peer influence and social media?
Yeah, no, social media is huge, right? And we see, like, just going on and being able to scroll on Instagram, there's nobody has no one is failing on social media. So we can agree, like, there's no one that is going to come on board and tell you about their struggles or their day-to-day things that they've experienced that have brought them down. So you see people living perfect lives, and it's hard to be able to see that when you yourself know exactly what it is that you're going through. But I think back to what you said again, social media breaks are so important. If you are constantly feeding yourself with all of this information about what people are doing and where they're going and the lives that they're living, you're going to constantly feel pressured to be able to meet this unrealistic level of success that doesn't even exist, right? Because let's be real, a lot of people are performing for social media. They're not telling you their day ins and their day out. They're not telling you how they even reach this form of success that they're, illustrating. And so it's important that we take out time to really, and I've done it myself, where I log off, and not only do I log off, but I also spend time with myself. A lot of people, especially in Nigeria, they don't take out time to just be still. You get, we're always on our phones, we're always talking, we're always going out, we're always partying or doing, going to church or a function or whatever the case may be. But I think it's time that we also take out time to be with ourselves, right? And really sit in our thoughts and think about what it is that we are experiencing right now in life, what are the things that we'd like to achieve, and really just be more focused about where it is that we are in life, rather than where it is that other people are in life. And that could be replaced by exercising, like Dr. Chika said, or it could be, time just spending time meditating or reading a book or praying or whatever it is that you feel brings peace to you. But definitely taking those breaks, it's so important. And sometimes maybe it's even just talking with a friend or a family member that you haven't spoken to in a long time. Just taking out time to be still is so important. And I feel, even for myself as a young adult, I know that it's helped me tremendously. When I stopped doing so much and trying to keep up and, figure out what was going on, it helped me to be able to identify who I was as a person and what it was that I wanted to achieve, and then also be able to be real about what it was that I was experiencing. So I think it's extremely important.
Junior, you spoke about the numbers, and about one therapist to 1 million people is a report which I saw in 2019. We do have a lot of people going to uni to study psychology and psychiatry, but people actually practicing. Imagine one therapist to 1 million people. Yeah. That's a big problem. And when they talk about budgeting for healthcare in Nigeria and mental health, the only the main focus is the place in Yaba, and it's still highly underfunded. And so it now makes me wonder, how can therapists and people in this space be supported financially and also policy-wise? Because I keep on telling people, you can't give from an empty cup. So you need to be able to take care of yourself and be taken care of before you look out for people. How can mental health advocates and therapists and the frontline workers in those spaces be supported, especially from a policy angle?
So I think one of the biggest things that the government policy can look into when trying to support the advocates, practitioners that are there, is funding and subsidizing the cost of medication, the cost of therapy. A lot of focus is sometimes spent on psychiatric support, and they forget the therapy aspect of it, the psychotherapy and psychiatry. Not everybody needs the psychiatric support. Some people actually thrive better with the therapy support, which is basically a talk therapy with either your psychologist, your counselor, or your therapist, whoever it is that's in that space. So also the attention needs to be drawn to subsidizing these services that are also available, and then stepping down some of this mental health support to community centers, community clinics, where we can start to train lay counselors, we can start to train mental health supporters that will be able to provide at least first-line support, first-hand support for people who come to seek help. There's a lot that we can look into about different strategies that the government can take, but the biggest one that they can do is provide some funding for institutions that already exist, reducing or subsidizing the cost of medication, because it's quite expensive. Let's not kid ourselves. It's quite expensive for people to support themselves with psychiatric support, and also making it available for people to have subsidized psychotherapy support also.
Exactly a year ago, the Senate held a public hearing for the Mental Health and Drug Abuse Bill. Do you have any update on that?
So far we have gone through the second reading. We're waiting for the next step. That's pretty much where it is now.
Okay, so we just need to keep on advocating.
We keep on advocating.
Amplifying the voices of those who have proposed that
That's
and
it.
see ways.
That's
Ladies, this has been a wonderful conversation, very impactful. Thank you so much for the work that you
Thank
do
you.
and any support that we can continue to give you to amplify your voices and shine light on the issue. We'll definitely love to do that. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll take a short break right now. When we return, more on The Weekend Show. Don't go anywhere.